In the waters surrounding Antarctica, there is a predator that has no natural enemies, no survival instinct calibrated toward caution, and no reason, biological or evolutionary, to treat you as anything other than an object of curiosity or prey. The line between those two things, for a leopard seal, is thinner than anyone who studies them is comfortable admitting. It is also the only apex predator on Earth that looks like it's smiling. That smile is why people get close. Getting close is the last mistake many of them make. The leopard seal, Hydrurga leptonix, is not what the name suggests. Most people hear seal and picture something round, slow, and harmless. A tourist attraction, an animal that claps for fish and balances balls on its nose. The leopard seal does not balance anything. It ambushes. It dismembers. It plays with its food in ways that have made experienced researchers put down their cameras and simply watch in silence, unable to find a scientific framework adequate to describe what they were seeing. An adult female, the larger of the two sexes, reaches up to 3.8 meters in length and 600 kilograms. For context, that is longer than a standard parking space and heavier than a grand piano. Her jaw is open to an extraordinary angle, lined with interlocking teeth designed to do two entirely different things. The back teeth mesh like a sieve to filter krill, and the front canines, long, recurved, and extraordinarily strong, are built for one purpose only: gripping, tearing, not releasing. Her neck is long and muscular in a way that no other seal's is, flexible enough to lunge and strike with a speed that researchers who have witnessed it describe consistently with the same word: unexpected. An animal that size, moving that fast, from stillness to contact, without warning. Underwater, the leopard seal is a different problem entirely. On land or ice, she is awkward, slow, almost comical in her movement. In water, she reaches speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour, changes direction with a fluidity that makes her look weightless, and can sustain pursuit across distances that exhaust the penguin she hunts. She does not chase in a straight line. She anticipates. She cuts off escape routes. She uses the geometry of ice flows and open water the way a chess player uses the board. She has been doing this for millions of years. She is very good at it. What separates the leopard seal from other large Antarctic predators is not size alone. The Weddell seal and the elephant seal both match or exceed her in weight. It is the combination of size, speed, jaw architecture, and behavioral flexibility that places her in a category those animals do not occupy. The Weddell seal dives deep and feeds on fish in darkness. The elephant seal is a bulk feeder, slow and specialized. The leopard seal does something neither of them does. It actively pursues, outmaneuvers, and dismantles prey at the surface in open water, in daylight, using a hunting intelligence that field researchers have spent decades attempting to fully document. Her eyesight is acute in low-light conditions, the turbid gray-green water of the Southern Ocean, where visibility drops rapidly with depth. Her hearing is adapted for underwater use, capable of detecting movement patterns of prey at distances that allow her to position before the prey is aware of her. Her whiskers, vibrissae, are sensitive enough to detect the water disturbance left by a moving animal, giving her a spatial awareness of her environment that operates independently of sight entirely. She does not need to see you to know you are there. The Antarctic ecosystem the leopard seal inhabits is one of the most extreme environments on Earth, and it shapes everything about what this animal is. The Southern Ocean surrounding Antarctica is perpetually cold. Surface temperatures hover between -2 and 4 degrees Celsius year-round. The sea ice expands in winter to cover an area larger than North America, then retreats in summer, creating a constantly shifting landscape of open water, ice shelves, and flows. Food availability is seasonal, intense, and competitive. The animals that survive here have paid enormous biological prices to do so. The leopard seal paid a different kind of price. Rather than specializing narrowly, the way the Weddell seal specialized for deep diving, or the craybeater seal specialized for krill, the leopard seal became a generalist predator of extraordinary flexibility. Krill, fish, squid, seabirds, other seals. Whatever is available, whatever is abundant, whatever can be caught. This dietary flexibility is not a sign of opportunism. It is a sign of dominance. The leopard seal does not need to specialize because it sits above the need for specialization. It eats what it wants because nothing stops it from doing so. Its only natural predator in any meaningful sense is the orca. And even that relationship is complicated. Documented interactions between leopard seals and orcas suggest avoidance more than active predation. The leopard seal is not easy prey for anything. This is important for understanding what happens when it encounters a human being. It is not assessing risk. It has no framework for assessing risk from a species it has never needed to fear. What it has instead is curiosity, hunger, and a set of hunting behaviors refined over millions of years, and no instinct that places humans outside the category of things worth investigating. The hunting behavior of the leopard seal is where its reputation shifts from impressive to deeply unsettling. Its primary prey in summer is the Adelie penguin, and the way it hunts penguins reveals something about this animal that no amount of size statistics or bite force measurements can fully convey. The leopard seal does not simply kill penguins, it plays with them. Documented in multiple field studies across the Antarctic Peninsula, the behavior follows a consistent pattern. The seal catches a penguin. Rather than killing it immediately, it releases it. The penguin attempts to flee, the seal catches it again. This cycle, catch, release, continues until the penguin is too exhausted to swim effectively. Then the seal grips the penguin by its feet and thrashes it against the water surface with enough force to invert the bird and separate its skin from its body in a single motion. Researchers who have witnessed this describe it with a clinical precision that barely conceals how disturbing they find it. The behavior is not random. It is not inefficient. It is a hunting technique, a specific, learned, effective method of processing prey that is too large to swallow whole. The play is the method, and the method works. The technique also reveals something about the leopard seal's relationship with effort and control that matters for understanding what happens in human encounters. This is an animal that prolongs interactions deliberately, that holds something alive, releases it, recaptures it, and repeats. That operates on a timeline of its own choosing, without urgency, without apparent concern for the prey's experience of the process. The power differential is so absolute that efficiency becomes optional. Paul Nicklen is a National Geographic photographer who has spent decades working in polar environments. In 2006, while diving in Antarctica, he encountered a large female leopard seal that approached him within minutes of entering the water. What followed was a 4-day interaction that Nicklen has described in interviews and lectures as the most extraordinary and the most frightening experience of his career. The seal, apparently interpreting Nicklen as a large, inept predator, attempted to feed him. Repeatedly. Over 4 days, she brought him live penguins, holding them in her jaws and releasing them toward his camera. When he failed to catch them, she brought more. She brought dead ones. She brought injured ones. She pushed penguins directly into his camera housing, apparently attempting to deposit food into what she may have perceived as his mouth. This behavior, bringing live prey to a human, has no clean scientific explanation. It is documented in other leopard seal encounters, not just Nicklen's. Researchers have proposed various hypotheses: teaching behavior, redirected maternal instinct, a form of social interaction that has no analog in other species. None of these explanations fully accounts for the consistency of the behavior across different animals and different researchers. What the behavior does establish is this: the leopard seal was treating Nicklen as something worth interacting with, something to engage, something that existed within its social or predatory framework in a way that demanded a response. Nicklen also noted, consistently across those 4 days, that the seal's grip on his head during close approaches, a grip she applied and released multiple times, was strong enough that he was unable to move. She was not biting. She was holding. The distinction, he has said, was entirely hers to make. On July 22, 2003, Kirsty Brown, a 28-year-old British marine biologist working for the British Antarctic Survey, was snorkeling near Rothera Research Station on the Antarctic Peninsula when a leopard seal grabbed her and dragged her underwater. She was held beneath the surface for several minutes. By the time she was recovered, she had drowned. Kirsty Brown is the only person in recorded history to have been killed by a leopard seal. The scientists present at the station that day, people who had worked alongside leopard seals in those waters for years, described the animal's behavior as consistent with normal predatory activity. Not aberrant, not provoked in any identifiable way. Normal. That assessment is the most important detail in this entire case. Not that an attack occurred. Large predators occasionally kill humans, and the statistical rarity of leopard seal attacks makes each incident notable. What matters is the expert characterization of what happened. A leopard seal, behaving normally, killed a human being. The follow-up question, why don't they do it more often, is one that researchers have not fully answered. The leading hypothesis is that leopard seals have enough alternative prey that humans rarely register as a worthwhile target. We are not their food. We are not their competitors. We are, in most encounters, simply present in their water. But the Kirsty Brown incident establishes something that no amount of reassuring statistics can fully neutralize. The leopard seal is capable of killing a human, has done so, and when it did, it was not doing anything unusual. Non-fatal attacks on humans by leopard seals are documented more frequently than the single fatality suggests. Divers working in Antarctic waters, researchers, photographers, support personnel at research stations report aggressive approaches, follow-throughs on mock charges, and direct contact that required rapid exit from the water. In several documented cases, leopard seals have bitten inflatable Zodiac boats, puncturing them with enough force to require immediate evacuation. In at least one incident, a seal pursued a researcher across ice after an encounter in the water, behavior that researchers note is not consistent with prey pursuit, since the seal had no advantage on ice, but is consistent with sustained threat assessment of something that had not yet been resolved. What makes these interactions so difficult to categorize is the absence of a clear behavioral script. Most large predators follow recognizable patterns: warning displays, escalation stages, retreat triggers. The leopard seal's interactions with humans span a range from the prolonged, apparently gentle food-offering behavior Nicklen documented to direct predatory attack, with very little observable difference in the animal's demeanor before each type of encounter begins. Experienced researchers in Antarctic waters describe a protocol for leopard seal encounters that amounts to this: exit the water as quickly as possible, regardless of what the animal appears to be doing. Not because every encounter ends badly, because the ones that do end badly look, in the moments before they do, exactly like the ones that don't. The leopard seal population is estimated at between 220,000 and 440,000 animals. A range wide enough to reflect how difficult these animals are to study and census in one of the most remote and inaccessible environments on Earth. They are not endangered. Their population appears stable. Climate change is altering the sea ice they depend on, but the leopard seal's behavioral flexibility, its willingness to shift prey and adapt hunting strategies, makes it more resilient than more specialized Antarctic species. As Antarctic tourism increases, more expedition vessels, more guided kayaking and snorkeling operations in southern ocean waters, human leopard seal encounters are increasing accordingly. Tour operators in the region maintain protocols for wildlife interactions, but the leopard seal presents a specific challenge that most large predator encounter protocols do not adequately address. There is no reliable behavioral indicator of intent. A leopard seal approaching a kayak may be curious, maybe assessing, maybe about to attempt to overturn it. The animal gives the same signals, or no signals at all, in each case. This is not a failure of research. It is a feature of the animal. The leopard seal operates with a behavioral range that includes extraordinary apparent gentleness and sudden lethal force, and it moves between those states without the warning displays that allow humans to respond. There is something specific about the leopard seal's smile that matters beyond the obvious irony. The upward curve at the corners of the jaw is anatomical, a structural feature of the skull, not an expression. It does not change. When the animal is hunting, when it is resting, when it is holding a researcher's head in its jaws, the smile is the same. It communicates nothing because it is not communication. It is bone. What it does, reliably and consistently, is trigger a human response: warmth, recognition. The instinct to approach something that appears to be smiling at you is deeply embedded. It predates language, predates culture, predates almost everything we think of as human behavior. Infants respond to smiling faces before they can recognize their own parents. The response is that old. The leopard seal's face exploits this response without knowing it does. It is not manipulating you. It is simply structured in a way that makes you want to get closer. And that structural accident, a curve of bone that reads as warmth, as welcome, as safety, may be the most dangerous thing about it. Not the jaws behind the smile, not the speed or the grip strength or the hunting intelligence. The smile itself, the thing that makes every human instinct point in exactly the wrong direction. The researchers who study leopard seals most closely are the ones who maintain the most careful distance, not out of hostility, out of understanding. They have sat in zodiacs and watched these animals for years. They have seen what curiosity looks like and what hunger looks like, and they have learned, slowly, through accumulated observation and occasional near misses, that the two can look identical until they aren't. And getting closer, in the Southern Ocean, in water the color of deep ice, with an animal that has no predators and no reason to fear you, and every reason to investigate whatever you are, is exactly what Kirsty Brown did. On a morning that looked, until it didn't, completely normal.